Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, Part 1. Once there lived in a certain city in Persia two brothers named Qasim and Ali Baba. They grew up poor and had to make their own way in the world. Qasim took the easy route and married a rich girl. Ali Baba took the hard and married a poor one. So while Qasim lived a life of luxury and was the owner of a shop packed from floor to ceiling with costly wares, Ali Baba scraped by as a woodcutter in the forest. Every day Ali Baba went out with his 3 donkeys to cut wood. Now one day he was out about his business when he saw a dust cloud billowing up into the air and heard the sound of galloping hooves. Fearing bandits, he hid his donkeys in the bushes and climbed up a tree to get a better look. Soon the horsemen came into view. There were 40 of them, riding hard, and each one looked wickeder than the last. They were indeed a band of robbers, fresh from plundering some caravan. They dismounted and filed past Ali Baba's tree to a large rock nearby, while Ali Baba held his breath and hoped no one would look up. When the thieves reached the rock, their leader shouted, "Open Sesame!" At these magic words, the rock gapped open, and the thieves walked through, carrying their saddlebags bulging with booty. After some time, the thieves came out again, and with their empty saddlebags. And when all 40 had come through, the leader shouted, "Shut, Sesame!" and the door closed up. Ali Baba stayed in his tree until he was quite sure that the thieves had ridden off. He knew he really ought to fetch his donkeys and go home, praising Allah for a lucky escape. But his curiosity and his destiny led him to the rock. There was no sign of any door or entrance to it, and Ali Baba could not work out how to enter. But he couldn't just leave it at that, so he decided to try saying the words he had heard. He didn't shout them. In fact, his voice was a mere trembling whisper, but still at "Open Sesame," the doorway opened up, and Ali Baba stumbled through it. Inside, he found a large cave filled with light and air filtering down from the holes in the rock above. It was the perfect robber's hideout, and it was crammed with the spoils of years of thievery: bales of silk, piles of richly woven carpets, heaps of jewels, and sacks of gold coins. Ali Baba wasted no time, but hauled out as many of the sacks of coins as his donkeys could carry. Once outside, he cried, "Shut, Sesame!" and the door was closed. He loaded the gold onto his donkeys, covering it up with brushwood to hide it from prying eyes. When he arrived home, Ali Baba called excitedly to his wife, "Look at what Allah has sent us." Taking the bags one by one, he poured their contents in an unending golden stream onto the floor. "Quick," said Ali Baba, "help me dig a hole and bury this treasure so that no one will see it." "Gladly," said his wife, "but first I must weigh it to see how much there is." So Ali Baba's wife went around to the house of his brother Qasim, the merchant, to ask Qasim's wife to lend her a pair of scales. Now, Qasim's wife always had to know everything that was going on, and sensing some mystery here, smeared the underside of the scales with suet or animal fat, so that some part of whatever was weighed was bound to stick there. Ali Baba's wife took the scales home and carefully weighed the gold pieces in the scales, making a black mark on the wall for each full load. Then she and Ali Baba emptied all the gold into the ditch he had dug and buried it safely. However, neither of them noticed the single gold coin that had stuck to the scales when they returned to Qasim's wife. As soon as they had gone, that scheming shrew upturned the scales, expecting to see some beans or grains of barley. When she saw the gold coin, she nearly had a fit. She yelled for her husband, who came at a run, as he had learned was wise at times like this. "Look at this, you oaf, you fool, you blubberbrain. There you are rubbing your fat stomach and preening your greasy hair, telling yourself what a fine figure of a gentleman you are. And that little rat, your brother, who's supposed to be so poor, he eats little better than his donkeys, has so much gold he needs to borrow my scales to weigh it. He obviously has more than he can count. Go away, and don't come back until you force that lying scoundrel to tell where he got the money. Perhaps your father is secretly rich, and Ali Baba has been hoarding your inheritance all this time." So Kasim, who was himself quite ill with jealousy and spite at the thought of Ali Baba's wealth, took himself off to his brother's house. Kasim found Ali Baba in the courtyard, and seizing him by the throat, began to shake him violently, shouting, "Where did you get the money? Where did you get the money?" Poor Ali Baba could hardly get his breath when Kasim finally let him go. But seeing that his secret had been discovered, and remembering that Kasim was, after all, his brother and boyhood companion, he managed to splutter out the story of the 40 thieves and their cave full of treasure. "Even though you have never reached out your hand to help me," he said, "you are my brother. Therefore, as Allah has been generous to me, so I will be to you. You can have half the gold, with my blessing." "That will do for a start," said Kasim, "but you must also tell me where the cave is, and the magic words for opening and closing the door, so that I can see it myself. Otherwise, I will have to carry out my citizen's duty and report you to the police as an associate of thieves."
Ooh.
Ali Baba had no choice but to tell his wicked brother everything. Leading 10 mules, Kasim set out for the cave. He came to the rock, cried, "Open, Sesame," and ventured in, the door closing behind him. When he saw the treasure trove, he went quite wild with greed. He threw himself down and rolled around in the gold and jewels in an ecstasy of money lust. At last he came back to his senses and began to stack up bags by the door to load onto his mules. When he had judged he had as much as they could carry, he stopped, resolving to come back next time with a whole train of camels. But when he tried to open the door, he found that, in his excitement and fever, he had utterly forgotten the magic words. "Something to do with grain," he muttered, scratching his head. So Kasim puffed himself up as grand and imposing as he could, and said solemnly, "Open, barley." And when that didn't work, he tried, "Open, oats," and "Open, beans," and "Open, rye," and "Open, chickpea." In fact, he tried the name of every cereal and seed that the hand of the sower had cast upon the fields since the birth of time, save only sesame, which had vanished from his mind as if he had never heard the word. So Kasim was left to tremble and shake behind that cruel door until the 40 thieves came back to the cave and, finding an intruder there, cut him into 6 pieces with their swords. The thieves were in an utter fury that a stranger should have entered their cave. They just couldn't understand it, as they had no idea that Ali Baba had spied on them from the tree. But they felt safe that at least the man who had had the impudence to try to rob them was dead. They put the gold stacked up back with the main treasure, never noticing that the sacks that Ali Baba had taken were missing. Nevertheless, when they went out again to plunder and rob, they left Kasim's mutilated body inside the door as a warning to anyone else who dared to trespass in their hideout. To be continued.